Hi everyone. I can see we have some few attendees, and I hope everyone is okay. And thank you so much for joining. So I'll just humbly request if we can begin at 3:10, just to give room for those who had purpose to attend, and then at exactly 3:10 we'll kickstart the webinar. Thank you. Okay, so as we wait for the extra 5 minutes to lapse, I'll share a poll with you, and then your feedback will be highly appreciated. In the meantime, if there are any questions, please feel free to post them on our chat. We'll be happy to address them. I can hear Aidan and asking if they can hear me. I just want to confirm. Can you guys hear me? If so, kindly just give me a thumbs up just to be sure we're on the same page. Okay, perfect. I've gotten a thumbs up. I've shared the poll. I'm just waiting for your response. We'll be starting in the next 2 minutes. Okay, so I think we can begin now. Let me end the poll. Okay, so from the results we got, my question was how many of you have an active account on FarmCloud, and 33% of you indicated that you do, and 67% indicated that you are yet to create one. No problem. So I think we can begin by me showing you the registration process. So just a minute as I share my screen. Okay, so just to assist everyone who hasn't registered, so it's as easy as logging into our website. While in our website, when you tap on products, you select FarmCloud, and then you tap on log into FarmCloud. Alternatively, if you don't want to, let's proceed. Tap on log into FarmCloud. So when you tap on log into FarmCloud, it is going to route you to this page. And in case you need any help from the beginning of registering to understanding the features of FarmCloud, you can just tap here to book a demo, and one of our experts will be able to assist you. So on the signing up process, so you'll tap on sign up. On the signing up, there's some information that you're supposed to fill in. So it's as easy as you indicating your name, your last name, the username of preference, indicate your email address. Preferably, it's optional, but I'd prefer you have it as well. You indicate your number dependent on the country you're from. Enter a password and confirm password. By you confirm by checking on this box, and then you register. After registering, it's going to give you a verification code. You enter the verification code, and that's it. You're in the account and you have successfully created your account. I will share a link to directly go to this page to register for FarmCloud. So let's sign up. Okay, so before we start going through the features of FarmCloud, I have one poll which will be very crucial for our webinar today. Please, your response will be highly, highly appreciated. So I've shared a poll with you. Please feel free to give your answer. Okay, okay, the responses are still coming in. I'll give it a minute. Okay, so I can see from your request, majority of you would love to know more about the accounting bits, followed by the daily work reports, farm assets, and then weather and satellite. So no need to worry, we'll definitely cover those. So I think we can begin with farm asset, daily work reports, and then we'll head straight to the accounting feature, and then we'll cover weather and satellite as the last feature. Okay. So as we can, to begin, let's start with the farm asset section. So just as the name suggests, anything that you own in your farm, what type of structures do you have? What are the inputs that you have in your farm? Do you have any equipment like tractors? Do you give out any services? So this is where farm asset comes in. So let's start with farm elements. Under farm element, I think we've gone through this. So under farm element is you indicating the type of structure you have in your farm. So if you have a greenhouse, if you have a screen house, if you have a shed net, or if you have an open field, this is where you indicate the type of structure you have in your farm. So if it is a greenhouse, once you enter the greenhouse information and you tap on the greenhouse name, it is going to give you the option to add a plant. And this is usually for you to indicate what exactly are you growing in that specific greenhouse. Other than that, or Other than the farm element, we have the fertilizers and agrochemicals. So we have the fertilizers and agrochemicals. Just as the name suggests, is you indicating the initial stock of fertilizers and agrochemicals you have in your farm. It's as easy as that. So any fertilizer that you bought, you have to indicate it here under fertilizers and agrochemical for the system to know that you had bought this specific type of fertilizer in this specific quantity and at this specific price. So let me show you how the report looks like. So for the report for fertilizers and agrochemical, so you'll have to select the fertilizer name. After selecting the fertilizer name, you select the supplier. So we can go with other. After supplier, you indicate now the quantity that you had bought. So we can go with 1,000 kgs, 100 kgs. And then we have this section for minimum quantity alert, which is to help you gauge yourself so that you don't run out of stock abruptly while you haven't adequately planned. So we can go with 5 kgs, and then the cost you had bought it for illustration, let's say 4,000, and then you add that report. So now the system will know that you have that fertilizer in this specific amount and you bought it at this specific price. So fertilizers and agrochemicals are more like the same. They have the same report. So what we've done for fertilizer is the same thing you'll do for agrochemical. So I think I can take you now over to let's cover daily work reports. I'll come to cover products and services afterwards. So daily work report was part of the request that was placed. So we can go with let's start with fertilizer report. So actually the daily work report is the most easiest feature on FarmCloud. So let's start with fertilizers. So you select the farm element. By farm element, remember prior as we were doing the structure that you have. So is it a block? Is it a greenhouse? You select it. So let's go with block A. So you select the plant variety. Immediately select the farm element. The system will already give you the plant that you're growing in that element. So in this case, because it was a prior block, it's under harvesting stage. And then you select the fertilizer name. Which fertilizer did you apply? We can go with that one. The date of application and the time of application, dependent on what you'll be doing in the farm. And then the quantity that you had applied for. So we can go with 50 kgs for illustration, and the application method. We can go with broadcasting, and then you add that report. So fertilizers and agrochemicals, just like I had said earlier, their reports, they look alike. They are more like the same thing. So for agrochemical, same thing that we've done with fertilizer. Enter the farm elements, the plant variety, the stage that you're in. You select the agrochemical, time and date applied, and the quantity that you had applied for, and the method of application. So I take you now through the scouting report. Under the scouting report is basically what exactly did you see while at your farm? Are the crops doing well? Are they infested with pests and diseases? Yes. So anything that you see in your farm, you indicate it here. So we can do this one. So we can go with the stage. So normally when you do a report, you'll have these options, either planting, sprouting, transplanting, dependent on the stage that you're in. So we can go with sprouting, and then the date of scouting, and then a brief description. So you can give a brief description that you spotted aphids and yellow leaves, and then you have the option to attach an image. So this option is it's optional. It's not mandatory, but it's highly advisable at least to provide reference when someone is viewing the report. After doing so, you add the report, and the scouting report is going to show that you had done this report, and this is how the report looks like. So after that, we have the manual irrigation. So under manual irrigation, just as the name suggests, what amount of water did you irrigate for? So same thing, you'll select the farm elements, you select plant variety, you select the stage. Since we had already indicated the sprouting report, it's under the assumption that we are currently at sprouting. After that, irrigation date, irrigation time, and the time we had irrigated for, so we can go with 90 minutes. And then quantity you had irrigated for, we can probably go with 100 liters. Method used, we can indicate probably flood irrigation, and then we add. So that's on the manual irrigation. After that, we have the pre-harvest report. Under the pre-harvest report, I think this is the most unique report out of the other report, since you have a checklist. So the checklist is just to help you gauge yourself if you're actually ready for the harvesting. Yes. So just like what you've been doing, you will select the farm elements, you select the variety, and then the stage now. So since we are at pre-harvesting stage, we can go with fruiting, and then now you have this checklist. So now, dependent on what will be the reality in your farm, you'll use this checklist to guide you to know if you're actually ready for harvesting, or there are some correctional measures you need to take before you actually harvest. So other than that, I think we have the second last report, which is the harvest report. Just as the name suggests, what exactly did you get? Since from planting now you're at harvesting, what exactly did you get? So same step, you select the farm elements, you select the plant variety, and currently we are at harvesting. So you indicate the harvesting time, and you indicate now we have three sections. So you have high quality harvest, low quality harvest, and harvest loss. So it can be lost in transit, or something might have happened that the harvest was lost. So we can go with 1,000 kgs, and then low quality harvest we can say 100, and harvest lost in transit was none, and then we add that report. Okay, so you'll find that here we have added our report of the quantity harvest that we got. And then we have the other report. So we do acknowledge that report highlighted here that it does not cover all the reports that are, all the activities that are usually done in the farm. So for any other report that is not highlighted here, you have the other section. So the other section, this is how it looks like. So if the report is soil testing, you select the plant, the farm element, you select the plant variety. Let's go with the other one. And then you give a brief description, or did conducted as mineral testing and pathological testing for my farm in greenhouse one. Yeah. So for any other report that's not highlighted in FarmCloud, you use the other report to indicate any report that you'd love to be recorded on FarmCloud. So I think I'll cover products and services lastly, and then I'll give room for any questions on the topics we've done, and then we can head over to accounting. We can head over to accounting. So I can see there's a question from Meshach. Meshach is asking, is it possible to see fertilizers and agrochemical report? Yes, it's very much possible. Let me take you there. So for example, this one. So here we go. So you'll see the reports, who created the report, date of creation, the farm element, the plant that's being grown there, and the variety, fertilizer name, the components, and the method of application, and the quantity that you had applied for, time and date. I hope I've been able to answer your question, Mesha. Okay, so I think I'll go ahead and cover products and services, and then we'll give room for any more questions. And now we can head over to accounting. So under products and services, it's easy as anything that generates income in your farm. from the harvest that you got. So immediately you record the harvest report, it will automatically show up under products and services because the system assumes that harvest is part. It's something that's going to generate income to your farm. So harvest, if you lease any of your equipment to other people, that's considered a product and it generates income. If you give services like agronomy services, yes, you put it under the products and services. So just to show you how to do so. So under product, you will indicate the name that you'll indicate the product name. So we can probably go with agronomy services. So this is a farm service. So we can say you charge per hour, and then description charges 1,000, 1,000 per hour, and then you add. So it will know that we have another source of income, which is agronomy services, and we charge 1,000 shillings per hour. Here it is. Yeah. So I think I've covered the farm assets and the daily work reports. I'll leave room for any questions that you may have. Before now, I can invite Sam and he'll do the accounting bit. Okay, so I can see the question Meshach is asking. I have not seen where you put input the components. So it's the inputting the components. This is where we as Cinefa come in. So that's a task we usually do. So after input the specific fertilizer, when you read the report, the components will already be there. So it's not on the user side. It's more on Cinefa side that we input the components for you. Just the same way you'd go to the to record a report and you'll find that that fertilizer is already there. So that means we on the back end, we already did that for you. I hope I've been able to answer your question, Mesha. Okay, so you're welcome. So anyone else, anyone who has a question, you can chat us, you can raise your hand, feel free. Okay, so I can see there are no further question. So I'll invite my colleague Sam. Sam will. Okay, I can see there's another question. I have proceed. Kindly come again, Meshak. I didn't get the part. Yes, it's the same. Yeah, so what we rather do, we just like you've mentioned, we indicate the active ingredients, so and the components. So if it is NPK, the components are nitrogen, potassium, and phosphorus. So for agrochemicals, whichever the components will be, will indicate it. So it won't be more of molecules, but just the components. Okay. I don't know if there's any further questions before we invite Sam. If not, kindly I'd appreciate a thumbs up from you guys just to ensure we are together. Okay, thank you. So I think I'll invite Sam to take you through the accounting feature. So if you have any questions, please feel free to post them. We are happy to answer.
Um, Hi everyone, my name is Sam. I'm co-host together with Stacy, and I'll be taking you through the accounting feature as you had requested. So let me share my screen so that we can start. Okay, so as I have said, my name is Sam, and I'm co-host to Stacy on our monthly webinar. So let me share my screen so that we can start on the accounting feature. So as you all know, in accounting, we have income and expenses. Income is where you have your invoices, and expenses is where you have your expenses that you have incurred in your farm. And we have two types of expenses: general and element specific expenses. So let's start with the expenses, then you can go to income. As I have mentioned, expenses we have two types: general and element specific. Let me take you through general expenses so that you can see, because the process is the same for both the element specific and general expenses. So when you want to record an expense, you have to press this button over here. Then there will be a model where you'll have to choose between general expense and element specific expense. So for our case, we can choose general expense. For those of you who might be confused, there's some few explanation about what each expense entails. So as for general expense, it records expenses that are applied to the entire farm and are not specific to any particular element. As opposed to element specific, it is tied to a specific farm element. So let's do general expenses. So when you click the general expense, you'll be provided with a form where you'll be able to fill in the details of your expense. So for our first field, we have category, which provides the category of the expense. As I had said, this is a general expense, so you can record anything. And if your category is not included here, you can reach us to Stacy, and she will include your category of expense over here so that you can be able to track it in FarmCloud. Let's say electricity, then the supplier, the date incurred also, and the cost, the method of payment. You have three methods of payment. You can either pay in cash, use your M-Pesa, or bank transfer. So we can go with cash. And then we have an optional field for receipts. Receipts are supporting documents that are able to identify your nature of expense. So it doesn't matter if you have a receipt, or if you can still be able to create your expense because it's optional again. Then a short description of what your expense is like and how you actually incurred it. So you can say electricity expenses. and that's it. Just by that filling that short form, you have already recorded your expense over the under the general expense category. As you can see, we have the expense type column, which lists the type of your expense, whether element specific, like this one over here, or general expense type over here. So when you come over here to the status column, we have statuses that are used to identify in which stage your expense is at. Pending, we have pending and also approved. And if we can choose to cancel this one to reject the expense, you can see the status will update to rejected. Then for the ones that we have approved, the status changes to approved. The ones that we have not approved and they are yet to be, let's say, approved and or rejected, will the status will update to pending. The default status is pending because you have just created your expense. For general specific for element specific expense, the form is still the same, only that this this part you have your expense linked to the form. Let me share my element specific expense so that you can see an overview how to do it. Give it a minute so that it loads. So as you can see, for element specific, you can have, let's say, farm fertilizers, farm fertilizers. Select farm element, the element in which you bought the fertilizers for, or your why, plant variety, the supplier. And again, if your supplier is not listed here, you can also reach out to Stacy so that she can be able to add your supplier into FarmCloud so that you can be able to track your expense. That's our cost, the method of payment, and a small description of fertilizer. So after you have added your element specific expense, it shows here at the table. The table is structured such a way that it shows the latest expense that you have recorded. So as you can see, electricity was our initial one, but then when we recorded our fertilizer, the fertilizer appeared at the first entry into our table. If you want to view details of the expense, you can see the expense info over here, the person who created it, the date, the updated time, the last updated time and day, the date incurred, the amount, and all the details about that expense. You can either approve or you can reject it. So that's it. That is all about the elements, the expenses for element specific and general expense. If you let me know if you have any questions or something you'd like me to clarify on expenses so that you can move to income, and I'll explain how the income feature works under accounting again. Okay, so I've seen there's some few questions. Does the farm report cover a particular period of time or is it continuous? Well, for your farm report, you can cover any time that you want, and you can also cover a specific time for let's say let me come here over here. For our daily work report, there is it is continuous from the day you plant your let's say your crops. The day you plant your crops, you can track all the stages from applying a fertilizer, and also there are agrochemicals scouting report, manual irrigation report, until all the way to harvesting report. So you can track uh, a particular period of time, or and also it is also continuous depending on what plant or what report you are writing. Have I answered your question kindly? Okay, so I will let Stacy answer question for Meshach so that we can proceed into the income feature.
Okay, so Meshak was asking, does it mean we can limit the chemical molecules to be applied by the farmer? Okay, just to summarize it, he's asking, whenever there is a new chemical, how often do we update our database to feature new molecules? So, Meshak, just to update you, the procedure we usually do when it comes to when a client has requested for fertilizers or an agrochemical to be added in the system, we usually share, there's a Google Sheet we share with the client. So you input what exactly you want it to be added. After doing so, so now on our end we will verify and see if it is valid. After doing so is when we will add it to the system. I don't know if I've answered your question. If not, you can kindly just do a follow-up question, please.
Okay, so if there are no more questions, let's proceed to the income feature. So under income, this is where you have your invoices, where you record payments, whether you have received a partial payment for your products or a full payment, or whether you want to edit an invoice to avoid an invoice. So let me demonstrate with one. So for you to record your invoice, you have to press this button for the receive payment button. It is next to add an invoice. So first we're going to add an invoice, then we're going to receive payment. Let's start with adding an invoice. For here, we have our invoice number. Invoice number, I recommend that you leave it the way it is so that the system auto generates the number for you. Or maybe if you have few invoices that you want to track and you have specific number or numbering of your invoices, you can fill your number over here. Then date issued, you enter the date that you issued the invoice. Let's say today is the date issued. Also due date, you also track the due date. Then the billing information. For billing information, you have to have a buyer first. So let's select our buyer. Can select one. Here, after we select our buyer, the custom billing and shipping is used to display whether the buyer has a different shipping address from the billing address. If not, you can leave this box unchecked, and you can proceed with your invoice items. If yes, you tick it, you can check the box, and you'll see that it will display fields for billing address and for shipping address where you can manually fill these fields. Otherwise, for my case, I'll leave it as it was. So I'll have the product over here. You can say the description for our product, the rate at which we are selling our product at, the quantity. The rate is the amount for one measure of the product. Maybe if we have 10 kgs, 1 kg we can sell it for 100, and our quantity is now the total amount of kgs that we have. Then the system automatically calculates the amount for you. So you can come here and fill in your payment details. So let's say bank transfer, and the notes that I used to identify our invoice. If you have them, it's fine. If you don't, it's still fine. You can leave this field over here is optional. Also over here, we have our discount and our shipping checkbox over here. If we are applying, if we have a discount that you'd like to apply to this invoice, we can put it over here. And also, if we want to include a shipping fee, you can tick this checkbox over here and also include the shipping fee for this invoice. But in our case, and for demonstration purposes, I'll leave it as it was. Then after you have confirmed that every field is correct according to the best of your knowledge, you can click save, and you'll see that our invoice is here. This is the invoice number. It has been generated automatically. Then you have the due date, the amount, the invoice amount, the paid and remaining amount. So for paid is the amount that the amount that you have received, and the remaining is if the buyer did not pay the full amount, the remaining amount will be calculated, and you find it over here. So for now, we have only issued the invoice, so the remaining amount is the full amount since we have not accepted any payment to our invoice. So the status, as you can see, is issued since we have only issued the invoice just some few seconds ago. Here we have the actions button where you can perform various actions on your invoice. You can either view or void the invoice. For view, provides an overview on how your invoice looks like. This is the name, the invoice number to this side, the issue date, the due date, and the person to which the invoice has been billed to. Then you have your the status of the invoice. Here, invoice issued is the status of our invoice. If we accept a partial payment, our invoice status will change to another status. I'll show you how the status differ given the stage of your invoice. Also, we have items field. So here we have all the items that you have invoiced as products in your invoice, the cost, the quantity, everything as it were in the invoice. You come and see it here. Then you can choose either to download or close. I'll close it. So now that you have our invoice over here, let's go and receive payments for this invoice. For you to receive payments, you press on or click on this receive payment button. It's just next to the add invoice button. You'll be provided with this window. Then here is where you select your buyer. Our buyer was John Doe. You can select the amount that the buyer that we have received. So for instance, since I want to show you the status when it is partially paid, let me select like 800. Then the invoice that I want to receive over here, we have our invoice. So maybe for you, you might be having multiple invoices on who which one you want to receive the payment. You tick the invoice over here on this checkbox. As in our case, we only have one, but if you had multiple invoices, you just they'll be listed next to each other. So you'll have to tick all the invoices where you want to receive the payment, and for here the payment field you enter your payment, the payment that you have received. So as you can see, the total invoice payment is 800, and the amount to credit is none because you're not crediting. Then you save and close. When you go back to your invoices page, our invoice is this one. It's the latest one. You see the invoice amount originally was 1000. The paid is now 800 because that's the amount that we have filled in our in our accept and receive payment window. Here the remaining amount is 200. So as you can see, the status has updated to partially paid. So let's go to our invoice and see how it has updated our status. Let us refresh. Let me refresh my page. So as you can see, our invoice has updated over here. It says partial payment received on the day that you have received our partial payment. And you can see our amount due over here has changed from 1000 to 200. 200 is the amount that is pending that the buyer needs to clear so that the invoice can be deemed as paid. So let's go back and now accept the full amount, the remaining pending amount over here. Go to our buyer, the amount, let's say 300 shillings for this invoice payment. As you can see, if you receive more money than the balance, the amount to credit here is calculated from the amount that you have received in the payment, and it is credited to the buyer. So you can save and close. So for here, you see that the paid is full amount, invoice amount is full amount, and the status has changed from partially paid to paid. If we view our invoice again, the status has updated itself again from partially paid to invoice paid on the day that you have received the full payment of the invoice. And you can see the amount due is now zero because everything now aligns to how the invoice is supposed to be. So we can download the invoice and you can view the invoice. So this is our invoice. After now the invoice has been downloaded, this is how it appears. You can print it or you can share the invoice. So let me go back. Let's close this invoice. And now we have covered expenses as well as income. For income, we have our invoices where we can add an invoice and we can receive payment. For expenses, we have two categories, general and element specific expenses. For your summary over here, we have invoices. These are the number of invoices that have been cleared and the outstanding invoice. and the overdue invoice. For our invoice, the last action that you can do to your invoice is to void the invoice. If you notice that the invoice is not correct, you can void the invoice. If we void our invoice was this one, let's void. And you can see that we have a dialog that says this action cannot be undone. Yes, I understand. Void the invoice. Then the invoice is voided, and if we check the status, you see the status has also updated to invoice voided. So this gives you a way on how you can be able to track your invoice, whether it is partially paid, fully paid, or the invoice has been voided, so that you can be able to not make mistakes for any part of your accounting and invoice record and record keeping. If you have any question, kindly let me know so that I can clarify on any parts that you may require further clarification on it. Okay, I've seen that Meshach, you have a question. Uh, Kindly, does a farmer get guided by a cost of production report? This is for accounts. Basically, the report should guide me on what the farm gate uh, practice of the product should be per kg and the compared to the prevailing market prices. So currently in FarmCloud, we this feature is not yet released into FarmCloud, but I'm going to circle back with the team, and then we can provide a way forward on how we have decided to approach this issue. So for the meantime, we do not support this feature in FarmCloud currently, but I'm going to during the next webinar we're going to respond to our question on how we have agreed on to proceed with this feature. It is very intriguing and very encouraging. Thank you, Mesha.
Okay, just to add on, Aidan had requested to speak. So Aidan, kindly proceed.
Any more question?
Okay, so Aidan, I think you can go ahead and ask your question.
Hello, I hope everyone hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Hello, thank you very much for the interest of time that you've given me today, and I'm happy to join this Zoom meeting today. First of all, let me start with introducing myself. My name is Adano Kotobo Molu. I'm from Isiolo County, Merti Sub-County, which is one of the arid and semi-arid county in our country, Kenya. As I'm speaking,
Aidan, I think we've lost you. Aidan, we've lost you. Aiden, can you hear me?
Now,
Cause on
I'm the
can you hello? Can you just come again? Cause we lost you for a good minute. Okay. So okay, I think we can proceed for now, and then when Aiden resumes, okay, he's back. You may proceed.
hello everyone. I think you heard me now.
Yes, now you're clear.
Okay, sasa first of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Adano Kotobomolu. I'm from Isiolo County, Berkeley Sub-County. As I'm speaking, I'm speaking from arid and semi-arid region of Isiolo, which is northern Kenya. Uh, Now I'm the chairperson of a youth and also a founder of a certain youth initiative called Angaf Youth Group located in our region, which is Isiolo. We normally, I'm from pastoralist community, and as a pastoralist community, we face a lot of challenges, such as a prolonged drought, intercommunity conflict over borders, and that is what makes us to shift back to agriculture, and where we engage in planting cereals and vegetables, because we had a very fertile bare land, and as well we started cropping crops like maize. We have planted vegetables like cabbages. We have planted potatoes, onions, sukuma wikis, and many so others, of which now I want to request something, if possible, on behalf of my youth-led initiative, which is agricultural, so that we might get connected with the youth from down Kenya, or even this good platform like this. Hello, I think you heard me.
Yes, I've heard you clear. Actually, I remember you very well. We had a previous discussion, and I'm very happy that you joined the webinar. So I think that is very much doable. We can have an initiative of educating your community on FarmCloud. So that's something that we can definitely organize. I'd kindly request if you can share your email via chat, and then we can proceed on this discussion further.
Okay.
Yes.
Let me, can I finish it, please?
Yes.
As I said before, I've said we are from pastoralist communities, and as well from arid and semi-arid region of Isiolo. In the community that I live with, the community were not learned enough. They were just a local community. They have never engaged even in agricultural before, or in so many years. But now, as a learned youth, we take an opportunity to make awareness on our community, and we plan to come up with, educational program that highlight the importance of agriculture, that highlight the importance of kitchen gardens and all those, so that we want to ensure that we overcome such challenges of starvation. Now, what I need and what I want to request on behalf of such youth initiative, which were registered and they had certificate and everything, including even accounts. So what we need is that we have never engaged, or we have never been trained. We have never been engaged in any capacity building trainings. We don't know what the other Kenya youth or agricultural youth or youth in agriculture are doing there in Nairobi or in another area like Merus and some down Kenya or down county. So that now we want to have, participation, and we want to have engagement with the youth from the other area, so that we share our stories, we share, our background activity that we engage as a farmers, so that by engaging with many peoples or many youth from down country, we will going to have and skill. We're going to adapt their their way of agricultural activity, so that at least we're going to have skills in order to ensure our activity or our initiative will continue to plant more, to make more awareness on importance of agriculture to to our local communities, to ensure that we and community will benefit from this initiative or from these plantings, crops, to ensure that we overcome this starvation and to stop hunger in our region. Thank you.
Okay. I think I've heard you quite well, Adan, and some of the things we've mentioned we are capable of doing, and some of them we are not capable of doing. I'd humbly request we have that conversation privately, if that's okay with you, and then we can now discuss what we are able to do and what we are not able to do.
Thank you. Nimeshukuru sana, and I think it is better that I will going to have your number, and I will share my number with you so that we can discuss it privately. Some of it, as you said,
Yes.
so that we know the way forward.
Okay, perfect. You can share, you can chat us on the panelist and hosts chat, and I'll be able to receive it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you as well. So, is there anyone else who has a question? We are a bit late, but we can, I'll do it quickly. We covered the weather and satellite section. Any further questions? Okay. Okay, so I think I can take you over the weather and satellite section. I'll do it quickly because I understand time. Just bear with me, please. Okay, so under weather and satellite. So what it does is that it gives you real time and historical data, enabling you to monitor your crops remotely. So for weather, just as the name suggests, it will give you weather forecast, and for satellite data leans more on identifying how healthy your crops are doing. So probably if we can check on one boundary. So before you get the data for your weather and satellite, what you need to do first is to plot your farm boundary. After plotting the farm boundary, you now have the capability to view the weather and the satellite data. Okay, so we'll use this plotted boundary for illustration. As you can see on the weather section at the top right corner, you are going to get the temperature information, that being maximum temperature, minimum temperature, and precipitation level. And also you'll be given the total area covered. So that's more to help you see if you've actually plotted your farm boundary almost accurately or you've missed it by a big figure. Other than that, we have the soil data. So under the soil data, you'll get the temperature at the top of the soil. You'll also get it 10 centimeters deep, and also the soil moisture dependent on the boundary that you had plotted. Now at the bottom we have this graph. So on the graph you can see three colors, that's blue, orange, and amber. So for the blue one indicates precipitation level, the orange one indicates maximum temperature, and the amber one illustrates the minimum temperature. And we also have the wind speed. So as you can see, here there's some indication that rain will come since the precipitation level is slightly higher and not quite low. So I'll take you over through the satellite data, or just a thing that I've missed. Under the weather section, you are able to get three options, that's hourly, daily, and historical weather. So for historical weather, you can feature date back up to 1 year, just to help you see the patterns, the weather patterns, how they've been the past year. Yeah, so I think I can take you through. So on when you tap on the historical weather, you are given the option to filter out the dates you'd want to check. So you filter out the specific month or day you want to check, and you will get that information. So other than that, I'd love to quickly head over to the satellite data. Okay, so under satellite data, just like I had illustrated prior, is to help you see how healthy your crops are doing. So under the satellite data, for you to be able to identify how healthy your crops are doing, we use the indices. So we have a number of indices. So we can begin with the first one, which is the NDVI. And NDVI stands for Normalized Difference Vegetation Index. And what it does is that it measures the amount of green vegetation in an area. And how to identify if your crops are doing well is that if you have values between zero point 0.6 to 1, that's an indication that you have a lot of green vegetation in your area. And low values between 0 to 1, it's an indication that there isn't that much green vegetation in your area, or rather they are yellowing, or rather they're not just doing well, or they're stressed. Yeah. So I think the next index we can cover is the NRI. So NRI stands for Normalized Difference Vegetation Index. Sorry, NRI stands for Normalized Ratio Index. So what it does is that it evaluates plant health by comparing how light reflects in different wavelengths. And for this one, high values, they are any values above zero point 0.5, and low values are any values below zero point 0.3. So if it's zero point 0.5 and above, it's an indication that your crops are healthy. Below zero point 0.3, it's an indication that your crops are stressed. So the next index we can go through is the EVI. EVI stands for Enhanced Vegetation Index. So EVI is more like similar to NDVI, but it's more suited for areas with dense vegetation. So for EVI, high values ranges from 0.8 to 1, and low values range from 0 to zero point 0.2. So I'll take you through the next index, which is the EVI2. So EVI2 stands for Enhanced Vegetation Index 2, just like EVI. So EVI2, the only difference is that it's a simplified version of EVI, so ideal for areas where satellite data is less comprehensive. And for this one, high values, they range from zero point 0.6 to 1, and low values, they range from 0 to zero point 0.2. The next index we can cover is the NDWI. So under NDWI, it stands for Normalized Difference Water Index. So NDWI measures the water content in plants and soil. So high value ranges from zero point 0.3 to 1, and low value they range below zero point 0.3. I'll cover the last one, which is the DSWI, which stands for Dry Soil Water Index. So it measures soil moisture level by analyzing how light reflects on the soil surface. And high values are any value above zero point 0.5, and low values below zero point 0.3. So just a summary of the indices. So for NDVI, EVI, and EVI2, the higher the value, the indication of a healthier crop. The lower the value, the indication of a stressed crop. So for DSWI, the dry soil water index, higher value it suggests more drought stress, and lower value indicates sufficient water on the soil surface. And NDWI, the normalized difference water index, higher values suggest high water content in the plants, and lower value indicates low water content in the plants. I know it was a bit quick, but if there's any question regarding weather or satellite, please feel free to let us know. We'd be happy to address. Okay, so I can see there is a question here. Okay, so Edward was asking how can he connect with Aiden. So I think Edward, you can also share your contact information, and we can have that arranged. I saw we had a raised hand. So Meshach, we've seen your question. You'll be getting a response. Okay, so just something to note as we wait to respond to Meshach's question. Normally, if you're a registrant to our webinars, we usually love to give back by giving you a coupon whereby you'll get 50% off. 50% off for the next 60 months, for the next 6 months, sorry. So in case you'd love to subscribe, this is the best time since you'll get half the price for it. So go ahead and take advantage of that. I have shared with everyone through the chat. The code is webinar 50. Please save it and make the use of that code. And before we proceed, is there anyone else who has a question?
Have shared Wiber.
Okay. So Meshach, you're asking. Let me answer. That suppose I'm planting a crop that only takes 3 months. How often does the indices reflect the actual conditions on ground? So for the indices in weather and satellite, data is usually refreshed every 7 to 10 days. So for your case, for 3 months plant, uh, it will track its growth throughout the entire period. Have I answered your question? Okay. Okay. Any more questions?
So I think before we conclude, I had shared the last poll with you. Just to have your feedback on FarmCloud. It will help us improve, and if there's any improvements required on your end, and also a source of encouragement just to see if we're actually giving you guys what you are requesting. So feel free to give your feedback. It's highly appreciated.
Meshach, I have said 7 to 10 days. Every 7 to 10 days is when the data is usually refreshed.
Okay, so we highly appreciate for giving your response on feedback rather on FarmCloud, and we want to appreciate everyone who attended the webinar today, for taking your time and coming to learn more about FarmCloud. We highly appreciate it, and yeah, I wish everyone an amazing weekend, and thank you so much. Okay, I can see Meshach, you have a question. Proceed. Okay. So, okay, let me share my screen. So, which part of registration? Let me share my screen, and you can let me know. Okay. So, Meshach, like I had explained earlier, so for registration, you have two options. So, first option can be you can go to our website, and in our website, you tap on products and you select FarmCloud. It will give you this option: log into FarmCloud or talk to a consultant. So, you tap on log into FarmCloud. When you tap on log into FarmCloud, you tap on sign up. And under sign up, you will just fill in this information: your first and last name, username, email address, phone number, password, and confirm password. After confirming password, you tick this box, you register. When you tap on register, the next step is going to route you to to verify. So you can either choose verification via email or via an one-time PIN. Meshach, was that alternatively, I will share the let me share with you the link to the registration page, so that when you tap on that link, it will directly route you to the registration page. I've shared with everyone. So if you want to register, please copy this link, and it will directly route you to the registration process. Also, if you have any difficulties, may it be with understanding some features on FarmCloud or registering, please feel free to let us know. We have that pop-up that usually comes up to request for assistance, so feel free to request. I'll be there to help you out. So it's okay, Meshach, even if you missed a lot because you were occupied somewhere else, that's okay. um, just here, if you tap here and book a demo, we can have a one-on-one, just and I'll walk you through all the features. Okay. So, is there any further question, Meshach, before we wind up? Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Meshach, as well for being quite interactive during the session. Thank you, Aidan, as well, and thank you to all attendees. We appreciate your participants. I wish everyone a lovely week and thank you so much for constantly supporting Cinefa. Have an amazing weekend.